Welcome to Out of the Blank.
Welcome back to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. Long-awaited guest, Mr. Jason. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. How's it been, my brother?
It's great to see you again, Robbie. It's great to talk.
I know it's been a while.
Super stoked to be here.
You're stoked to be here, but that just
I'm
makes me
stoked to be here.
What do you got for me? Give me some classical news information.
Classical information. I don't know. I've been crawling around on Rumble so much lately. I've been just keeping up with what the LGBT police, the alphabet police, and everybody's been on to, and the indoctrination of our children. And
Jesus,
and
hang on a second. Hang on. Stop. That's a more heated topic than the JFK. I'd rather stick to like a JFK topic.
I know. I'm just messing with you.
But when it comes to why do you like, I use YouTube more than anything. I don't have Rumble, but it is weird that like now there's distinctive categories and kind of apps that we use now because YouTube just won't allow certain things.
Yeah, that's the main reason right there is like I feel like I'm getting more information from Rumble because there's not someone on there that's going, can't say that. No, don't put that on there. No. We don't need someone to hold our hands. It's the internet. There's been crazy stuff on the internet for as long as the internet's been around for.
Do you ever think
people say what they're going to say?
They're just scared that eventually people will become so normalized to like, because I mean, look how what it was like in the 50s. Like I've been watching old school films and trying to talk to people who study old school cinema. There's a lot of propaganda in there that you really don't realize. Like I'm pretty sure Bugs Bunny was racist at a point. Like they had him dressed up with like
tons of war propaganda and anti-Russian, anti-Chinese, anti-Indian, tons of that stuff. And it was put into the cartoon, so it was so cute and they got away with it.
So society has evolved to where we know that was wrong and now we're trying to be equal for everyone. That's a good thing. But then there's also propaganda where it comes to the aspect of, remember, like apparently this is how old films used to be. You couldn't have a naked woman or you couldn't have like a sex scene on cinema. That was those were exclusive theaters, the ones that Pee Wee Herman was caught in. So the rule of thumb was as long as it's okay to have it in your film, as long as someone has their foot on the floor. So whenever you watch some of these old films, they're like making love on a couch and the guy has his legs on the floor. Usually the woman has like one foot on the floor or something, or they would do a scene where it'd be like them getting on top of each other. And then it'd be a train going through a tunnel. And then the audience would assume but now look at it. Now you could have anything. There's a show called Fuck Island where they just flirt and it's good. I like it. But they say that the people are in their 20s. That's a damn lie. Every single one of those people look like they're in their 30s, but they're in like great shape.
You're like, I'm in my 20s. I know my shit.
Well, that's what scares me is like, is it the alpha? Like, you know how there was alphas back in the day and now like it seems like the betas are the alphas today. I'm like, is that just me as a 20-year-old? Like I'm not that alpha or whatever, but those 20-year-olds, if they're still 20, they're in my generation. They're not. They look like they're 30. They could be 40, but they're in really good shape.
If any 20-year-olds are alpha, it's you, man.
I'm not that
alpha. You're alpha. You're rocking it.
Okay, thanks. That's good for my self-esteem.
Yeah, and you kick ass. I can barely keep up with how many podcasts you put out.
I started taking weekends off.
You should take a second for yourself every now and again. Gosh,
I can't. I got to keep going, keep pursuing until it's basically, what is it? Work until you drop.
I thought it was work until you finally make enough to be comfortable, and then keep working.
Would you ever
That's
stop?
What I'm going for.
Well, would you ever stop when you're comfortable? Like people say you need motivation to keep on going, and that's what pursues them, is that never being enough. If they get that mentality of like, I want more, I always want more, it's bad to be around, but it's good if you're trying to, I guess, succeed in a sense.
Yeah, I would like to live more comfortably, but I don't think I could ever actually stop working. I think it's the only thing that keeps me going. If I didn't get up and go to work, my body would be so wrecked. My back would hurt all the time and stuff. Work, I have to crawl around and get down on my hands and knees and clean stuff. And it's like the exercise that I get, because when I go home, there's no exercise at home. I have a wife and two kids I have to deal with. As soon as I get home, it's make dinner, deal with kids, wash them, brush them, send them to bed, get up early in the morning, take them to school. I can't even get up early in the morning to go for a run or something unless I want to get up at 5:30 or something.
So how do you budget your time?
What time?
You got to make that you just told me a minute ago to make some time for myself. You should be making some time for yourself.
Dude, I found just enough time to do those couple of substacks so far. And like, I mean, that's what I can eat out. It's work. No, actually, it's now that well, one of them's in school. The other one is supposed to be in school, but she's got her disabilities and they aren't ready for it yet. So I think next week she starts. But yeah, one's in school, so that means that every day I got to get up at 6:50, and then it's get the kid up, get him ready, feed him, send him off to school, and then I go to work right after that, and I work all day. I come home, I make dinner, I feed everybody, I do all the stuff. I put the kids in bed, and then I got like a couple hour window that I could spend with the missus. And then by the time she goes to bed, I'm just dead to the world. I'm falling asleep on the couch.
I'm surprised you have time for a sub. What is a sub? Is a Substack just like a blog, but it's like cooler name?
I think it's a blog that's meant to eventually become monetized, and it's put into a way where it can be sent out more readily to people instead of having to go to a certain place and read it. But you technically have to go to substack.com and read it anyway, so you do have to go somewhere to read it. But it's got a whole bunch of different ways that you could share your posts and stuff, and it doesn't have to be a blog. It could be about pretty much about anything that you want. I'm doing some writing, and like just doing some writing exercises on it, because I used to love writing back in the day. I wanted to write a book when I was younger, and I just have always been busy with kids and have never had the time to get on it. So I figured the least that I could do is sit down and flex that muscle and write a little bit. And I was kind of proud, because I was like, hey, I can still remember how to spell words correctly and stuff. I can still remember how to put everything in the right, into paragraphs. And it's like, hey, I still got all that stuff. It's still deep down in my brain. So that was pretty cool.
I wanted to write a book, but then I found an easier way for me to do it, which was use dictate through the microphone onto the computer and have it type for you whatever words you say. But it could not pick up my accent, so I'd have to go
I
back
can't do
over.
that.
Yeah, I'd have to go back over and correct
Yeah,
every single.
speech to text is it's so bad. I feel like I'm a mush mouth or something when I try to do speech to text. It comes with every word is wrong. And I'm like, how do you mess up every word?
Well,
Every
geez,
word.
you're complaining about where technology is. I mean, it does some pretty good shit sometimes, but most of the time
It
it's kind
does,
of
but
like
speech to text is garbage. I hate it, because you're not supposed to text and drive. And so the missus gets a hold of me and I have to answer, and I hit that speech to text button, and it just says some completely opposite thing of what I'm saying. And I'm like, do I speak that badly? I feel like I have a fairly easy
why don't you just wait till you
to
get
listen
home?
to voice.
Just wait till you get home to send a message.
Please.
What do you mean,
You're not
please?
married. You
Yeah,
don't get it.
that's a. Oh, okay. Well, I'll say that's a.
Yeah,
Is that what
you'll know at one point it's gonna go.
is, is that what you explain to your officer when he arrests you and he says, "Hey, excuse me, you're not supposed to be using your phone." He drives like, "Look, are you married, man?" Then you understand.
No, because I live in the city of Portland where there's no police anymore.
Wait, still, still.
Still, there's no police presence here. It's ridiculous. People are getting shot and stabbed every day.
Are you? Wait, how common is it? How common?
It's crazy. We've already beat our murder rate for last year. Yeah.
I don't know
There
what
are
you want me to
people.
do. I can't complain. Should I congratulate you?
We were at Target the other day, me and the missus, and some random the their grandma actually took the kids for a couple hours, which was crazy. This is like a miracle. So we're at Target, we're seeing these shady people walking around. They're like, just the kind that when they're in the store they don't look right. that you could kind of spot that they're not acting like normal people shopping at the store. They were just filling their cart up and not even paying attention,
Wait, hold
just
on,
like
hold on.
coffee maker.
We gotta make a distinction. Is this like on drugs? But which drug? Like when I'm in a store, if I'm high, I end up like trying to act normal, and it makes me look even weirder. So is it like that, or is this something like where the dude's leaning like he has no spine? You know what I mean?
No, this is like a couple of ladies, and then they've got like a guy that's being like a spotter for them. He's like walking around and looking while they go around and just grab everything off the coffee maker, handful of, K cups, bottles of soda, health and beauty supplies, whatever, filling the carts up. And there were two of them. And they took it up to the counter, and we were cashing out, and we saw them go around to like the aisle where you would go if you were going to self checkout, and then they just proceeded to walk out the door with these carts, completely full carts of groceries. And the store guy that was at the closest register was like, hey, come back here, you can't leave with all this stuff. And they just said, fuck you, and they just walked out the door.
So what
And then
happens
the next one
next?
came, and she ran right out after her.
So what
Nothing,
happened?
they didn't have a security or anything.
Okay,
They're just supposed to let him go.
but is it like Walmart where they like they don't say anything to you to stop you, but then they have the cameras and then they try and find you?
Oh, maybe, but I mean, like their hands were tied. There's no police. You call the police and maybe they would show up, but by the time they showed up, they'd be gone anyway. And it's just it's disheartening because that makes everything cost more for everyone else, especially for the ones that are actually paying for it. And where do they get off thinking that they're owed to just be able to go into a store and fill up a cart and leave with it?
I couldn't give you an answer. I've never that's not like that here. You'll get shot in the head if you fucking try and take something from a
I
store.
know. I was thinking of all kinds of stuff. I was like, man, if I was a store clerk, I'd run out and like kick the card over and be like, there, now take it. Have them pick it all up and put it back in the cart.
I was at the gas station this morning grabbing 2 energy drinks and I scanned them and it didn't make the beep like you scanned it. And I just like the woman looked at me when I was going to pay and I was like, this it just didn't make a sound. I come here every day. It'd be stupid as shit for me to steal something from this store.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. That's just I can't believe that's like that. There's literally no like if you call the police, does anybody show up?
The audacity of it is incredible. Just that you could just be like, fuck you, and walk out the door and nobody can do anything.
Now, is that crazy or is it crazier the fact that we have to pay for things? Shouldn't everything just be free?
Well, if we were living in Star Trek world, maybe they're working on it. They want us to have digital money. Don't worry, we're getting there.
Once the cure for cancer comes around, everything will be free.
Yeah, they can't cure cancer. They already know the cure for cancer, probably.
They
They're making
buried
too
it.
much money off of it.
They buried it like the Krusty Krab secret formula. You open up that thing and there's nothing on it.
Yeah, somebody's got the formula, but not us.
He said formioli. That's great. That's great. I caught
I
that.
know. I love SpongeBob.
That's nuts to me. Wow. So like, I mean, is it common? Like, are you worried when you go out on the street with your kids that there's going to be an issue?
We live in it's a little bit out from the city. We're right on the edge. We're into the suburbs. So we're not in a too bad area. We have a few homeless around and stuff. And here and there's a shady dude that if I'm out with the kids, I'm just like, let's go this way. Let's cross the street over here. We'll leave that shady guy alone. The kids have zero sense of danger whatsoever. My girl will walk up and just say hi to anybody, and I'm like, oh, why are you saying hi to that guy? Like I can tell from way back that guy is shady. Don't talk to him.
How are you going to instill that, I guess, that knowledge, or I would say being aware of danger to your kids? They're not able to pick it up
I know,
now.
because there's nothing that really teaches them awareness anymore. Everything is like love everybody, accept everybody. They're trying to get them to accept that people are attracted to children and stuff, and I'm like,
Oh,
that's messed up.
damn,
Don't accept that ever.
you're picking some
Don't
topics I'm
accept
not.
that.
You're picking some topics I don't really feel comfortable talking about.
I know, we've got a whole entire prison up here in Washington. There's an island off of Washington that's got a prison, and it is full of pedophiles. And they're the kind that like they can't let out because they will go and prey on children. And what do you do with them?
Good God.
there's like 300 and something inmates in that prison, and what do you do with them?
I had a friend of mine that was on the show a while back. He might be on again later down the road, Josh Weiss, but he worked at like a strip club. He was a DJ there. You know, he's used to like the cocaine night lifestyle type thing. He drives a cab and everything. He's like, you know what we should do? We should make a documentary about interviewing people. I'm like, well, who the fuck do you who do you want to interview? And he goes, we need to interview the women that get caught sleeping with their student, like as a teacher. And I'm just like, what? I'm like, you know how like that's my boy
They can give them
scenario
a
stuff.
high five. Yeah.
That's what he said. He goes, we could interview the girls, then we could interview the guys, and we'll just be two completely different style interviews. One, because you're like looking at the woman like you're a freak, and then you look at the guy and like you're a piece of shit. And it's just like it's true, but it's like that's a weird
It's such a
documentary.
double standard.
I'd rather do that through a Zoom call than go and meet these people. I don't really want to meet them, to be
For
100%
sure.
honest with
Do
you.
you want to shake their hands?
No, I just want to stare at them and be like, I mean, there's definitely some teachers I wish in school, but that happened in my town. There was a guy who got caught sleeping with a 17-year-old girl. He was labeled for like 2 years. And then I think now when people see him, they just don't talk to him.
Oh yeah, it's a stigma with guys with hot teachers. It's just like, well, oh, you got some extra education from her.
Well, that's that's
Pretty
that's
wild.
that's when I talked to Michael Ravito on my show, and he was talking about male mental health. And it was like, yeah, it's true. I mean, for the longest time, males were kind of seen as like you fall over and you scrape your knee. It's like kind of dust it off and get to your thing. And then with a girl, it was treated a little bit more differently. And then now we look at like the male mental health is starting to be talked about like it never existed until now. And it's like, no wonder like everybody's grandpa's fucked up. Jeez, like you try and talk to your grandpa about something. He's like, what happened? I'm like, I got my hand stuck under the lawnmower. He's like, did you walk it off? I'm like, what? What do you mean walk it off? I'm missing four
Wrap it
fingers.
up.
Yeah.
Just wrap it up.
Take a sip
Take
of
an
whiskey.
aspirin if you're too bad. Yeah.
That's
Chew
crazy.
it up though. That way it works better.
Is that true?
Yeah, they used to chew aspirin.
Is that true? I didn't know people chewed
Gross.
aspirin.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it gets into your system faster. Yeah, that's the old guy mentality. Like even my dad had that. Like, my whole childhood was he was very gay phobic, but he never really said anything about it. He would do like you can accept everybody, and then like I'd be listening to a song and he'd be like, oh, that's gay. Like that's not accepting that. And he was very much the manly man. Like you can't cry in front of people, you can't show people that you're hurt. Even if you hurt yourself, you're just supposed to act like nothing happened to you and stuff. He dropped an engine on his finger when I was a little kid, and he just wrapped it up and went to the hospital, did his thing. Oh dang it, this is going to take hours out of my day. They had to sew his finger back on. It took months and months for it to, rehabilitate well enough to even use his hand right. And it was to him, it was just like, oh, another stupid thing I got to deal with. Keep it all deep inside. Don't let anyone know.
I kind of like that though. Like when I see someone like drop an engine on their hand or something and they don't even make like a peep and they just kind of like move on. I'm like, that dude's like just tough as nails. But like if you
Right.
have
I
someone
have
like
to curse.
if that's fine though. I had a freaking cursing expert on my show to talk about that. And it's like, yeah, we do stigmatize. Like that's what I'm saying. The evolution of like cinema and stuff. Back to that point, what we accept now on television, what we accept now in society, like when people curse, it's not, I mean, do you prefer more like how my show is conversation style? Like it's cool to have informative stuff, but also at the same time, if you want to look at like a structured interview on something or a person, you just go and find other content where they've done the scripted questions. For me as a person, I rather just talk to that person and get their perspective and learn who they are. If they drop a curse word, I don't hold anybody to like, oh, you said a dirty word. It's like, no, no, everyone, people here, your kids probably hear cursing just out on the street openly because nobody censors anymore. And that's like good. But at the same time, like I catch myself sometimes, I'll be like around my nephew and I'm like, all right, I can't drop a curse word. I might accidentally happen, but there's a rare, like usually I'm like noticing that more.
Yeah, with kids, it's at the very least, not filth for filth's sake, just but a curse word. The way I feel is they're going to go out into the world, and there's going to be people cursing. And I would rather them hear the cursing and know that it's just another word like everything else before they got into the world, and have someone yell at them and curse at them and then hurt their feelings so badly because no one's ever cursed at them.
Clutch their
You
pearls
know,
and
could you
everything.
imagine if you've never been called a fucker or something and then someone just calls it to you when you're in your 20s or something? It would destroy you.
You probably have to Google it first and then realize you're supposed to be offended. Like sometimes somebody drops a word or says a word in something, and I kind of have to look that term up, and I'm like, I've never heard of that before, but I can't tell if this is a positive way or a negative way that they're using it. Because usually when it's like an old school word, like someone brings out something like it, I can't even think of one off the top of my head,
I
to be
know,
honest
me
with you.
either. I got a million of them. My dad used to say all kinds of crazy stuff.
You look it up, and it's like depending on what the context is, and it's like it was sent through a fucking email. How am I supposed to know what the context is through like a text? Like it doesn't make sense. So you're like, did you mean it like this? Did you mean it like this? It's like I don't know. Braggadocious, like that means like bragging or being kind of like boasting too much. But then if you look up the term, it's like there's alternate ways it can be used for. It could be used in a positive or a negative. And it's like, should I be offended or should I'm just not even going to reply. Then they call you and wonder if you're dead or not.
That's awesome. Yeah. I do tend to if I'm really angry, I would prefer to come up with something weird off the top of the dome than to yell profanities at my children. So a lot of the times I will call them, you little God, you demons are driving me crazy. Just so I'm not like beep, 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 beep,
I know your neighbors call the cops on you a lot because like just some things with your kids and everything. And I think that your neighbors just don't understand like your kids, you got a lot on your plate. And it's not like you're a bad parent. For everyone listening, you have a kid with a disability and it's hard, it's frustrating at times, not for you, but just because your kid can get frustrated and it's like hard to know if like, is this kid being hurt? And in today's world, everyone's like, oh my God, I just watched a video yesterday of a cop going up to this woman who's drunk. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And she was like, there's my kids in the car. And he's like, what? Your kids in the car? Where? And he's like, going to break the glass to get into the vehicle. And he's like, I don't see your kid. There's nowhere in this car where your kid could be hiding. He's like looking in the back. She's like, she's in the back. I'm telling you, she's in the back. And then he goes, ma'am, how much have you had to drink? And she's like, what's it fucking to you? And then immediately she starts getting
Oh no.
she starts getting arrested. Then a bunch of cops come over. She had her key fob in her boot. They pulled it out. They unlocked her car. They're coming across fake IDs, fake credit cards, so much stuff. And there's no kid in the car. And we're like, where's your kid? And like, it starts asking her questions about her kid and she's like not answering correctly. And it's just like, well, that's today. Like people will bust a window if your car or if your dog's in there. I had a guy when I worked at, I still work at the gym, but he used to come into the gym and I'm like, hey man, your lights are on and your truck is on. Like, do you know about this? You've been in here for an hour. That's gotta be wasting gas. He goes, I have my dog in the car. I'd rather waste my gas than somebody break a window. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but it's just like I don't what so back to the point with
Just leave the dog at home. It's easier.
yeah, well back to the
Then
point
you
with
can lock your truck up and it's secure.
your kids. When you have all this going on and your neighbor calls the cops because they're worried about your kid's safety, they just, even though they've done it multiple times, you'd think they'd learn by now. You have to go through this whole situation of explaining and walking them through your house to show them that your kids are fine. It's just you have a kid with a disability and it gets a little bit hectic sometimes. Do you ever think when you're yelling at your kids, you should just change for like the rest of your like whole entire time you yell at them to just a Southern accent? Like, God damn, preacher man, and just start speaking like a preacher man and just have your neighbors think, did we just get a Southern Baptist that moved into our complex?
I was doing that earlier. I was upset and I was like, I didn't want to yell because I knew that the neighbor was home and they are so snoopy. I think that they sit in front of our window right outside and I think that they listen in because it's just right on the edge of their porch. So they could just stand on the edge of their porch and listen through our window because they've brought things up to the management stuff that are things that we've said inside, but we wouldn't like say that to the kids outside of the house. Like our empty threat of I'm gonna beat your ass when like they know full well that I'm not gonna beat their ass. They get away with everything.
I'll never forget when I was in school and I went to the guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor was like questioning me a lot, like, is there problems at home? Is there something going on? And I'm like, no, why? They're like, well, you're not paying attention and you're finding it hard to focus. So we're thinking that maybe there's something going on at home that's causing. I'm just like, in my head, I'm thinking, no, I just don't like fucking school.
Right.
This is
It's
like
always the parents' fault.
this is like when I was in third grade, and they brought my dad in, and I remember like driving home with my dad, and my dad just like looks at me. He goes, did you say something like that something was going on at home? And I was like, no, why? He goes, why the fuck are they not worried about education and teaching you, but they're more worried like these. He goes, these guidance counselors are trained to just look for any sign where a kid might be hiding like a deep feeling or something. He looks at me and goes, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. He goes, then why aren't you paying attention in school? Because now they're going to investigate our home life and think that we're fucked up. I'm just like, I don't know. It wasn't me.
That's a huge problem with Amelia is, she's 6, she's big enough now to be boisterous and loud, and she goes into these manic phases where nothing can calm her down, and she just screams. She screams like, not like no 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 scream, she just screams like she's being murdered or something. And I'm not doing anything. I'm not putting my hands on her. At the most, I'm trying to restrain her a little bit. I try to hold her and calm her, rock her and tell her to breathe. But if somebody that isn't in here hears that, it sounds like we're just wailing on them or something. It sounds like we're beating her, and it's just part of her syndrome. And we've been trying stuff. We put her on an ADHD medicine that's supposed to calm that, but it hasn't done anything so far. She's still having the manic fits.
That's like, I'm not an advocate for like just like, putting your kid in place at points, but I also think it's better than, using what we do now a lot in society, which is just medicating immediately. Like it's
Mhm.
we're like, I'm not saying anything about your parenting. I'm just saying in general, I think
Totally.
as a
I don't
society,
like
we just,
ADHD meds as well. I like all my other kids. I said no, but with Amelia, she's so manic that she needs something to calm her down so that she can focus throughout the day,
well, it's like
or else she just gets wound up
you're never
and
gonna please anybody. Like that's the thing is like you can correct your kid in the store and people will judge you on that. Or you could just be like, well, my kid's on medication, and your kid's like drooling at the mouth and just kind of standing there like like if you ever see the videos of people after they've had a lobotomy, like after people have a lobotomy, they're just like they sound like there's just something wrong. And I've seen a couple of these videos now, and it's like the guy's just like he used to be like all like free and like how I am like personality wise, and then like he's in this interview after a lobotomy, and he's like, well, my parents thought I needed to be corrected, and and it's just like a piece is taken out of them. Like that's the last thing. It's like we're so worried about crushing somebody's dreams. What about crushing someone's like just personality in general? Do you prefer that as a society? You just want everyone to be boring as shit?
well, we're accepting of all. So even if you've been lobotomized, join the fray. You're all equal here. Now, I think that's gross though. Lobotomies are nasty. Destroying a little piece of your brain, that's horrible. That should have never been a thing in the first place. I can't believe that they let them get away with doing that to so many people before they said, hey, maybe this isn't such a good idea after all.
Well, they still do it. They do probably just do it secretly.
I don't know. As at least the maybe a new version. The occipital bone one though, they don't do that one anymore.
The occipital bone.
Thankfully, that's the one where they go up through the eye socket and into the front of
You
your
mean
frontal cortex.
your orbital?
It, uh, isn't I thought it was called the
You must have
occipital, the
listened
one
to
that's
that
around your eye.
the episode with Phil. I talked about the occipital bone. It's back here on the back of your head.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I'm thinking. Okay, I'm thinking the orbital. Yeah, the one that goes up through your eye socket. Yeah, they don't do that one for sure
I used
anymore.
to scramble it a little bit.
Yeah, just give it a little swirl.
I don't know how they did it without like really messing something up. The way I was taught as a kid was like the danger of quicksand. Like if you hit your head once, you could just go blind. Like they said, if you hit your head hard enough in the back, you just go blind. So I was like, the way that we've had this thing of just sticking an ice pick in somebody's eye and scrambling it around a little bit, and then it comes out to where the person's not brain dead is nuts. It's crazy. Like I see somebody in a coma, I'm like, could you just do a lobotomy and like wake them up a little bit? Like, would that work? I don't know.
I know. What do they do to people in comas? Do you
They
think that
leave
they
them
try to
there.
do things to
They
wake them
leave.
up?
No, they don't. They may rub the toe a little bit. I know. That's like what was it? That show of Scrubs where he goes into where all the coma patients are and he just itches their foot because he thinks that they're probably have like this itch that they can't scratch and inside they're just stuck so they can't do
That's
anything.
cute.
Yeah, so it's like he just would itch their feet and then like walk out. Maybe he had a foot fetish. I don't know. I mean, we learned that from Quentin Tarantino. How many movies of Quentin Tarantino show a foot scene?
He was sneaky about it, way more than that iCarly guy.
That's very true. That's dark too. That's really dark. That's terrible. Because I was like, how many times did they show like foot scenes in like some of my Nickelodeon shows when I was a kid? And then I start watching like the mashup that they do of cutting it all up together, and you're like, oh, there's a
Feet
lot.
smashing cakes
There's
and
a
feet,
lot.
and feet up in the air at the pool. And oh, yeah, it's crazy.
It's like something where you're like, I don't want to believe it to be true. And then they show you everything lined up, and you're like, okay, I can't refute this.
Tarantino's more of a like, I'm just a lover of feet, like I like a good foot and I want to put them here and there in my movies just to show them off.
You think he would have made a Cinderella movie at that point?
Right? The slipper would be perfect. Glass slipper onto the beautiful foot,
Or just a shoe store next to the castle, and then he has to go through like 1,000 pairs of shoes to be able to
he's
get
got to check all the feet for the
Yeah.
prince. He's the guy that goes around and checks the feet. That'd be a good job for a foot fetishist.
I
Working at the shoe store.
That's probably why people get in the porn industry. I mean, if you have a certain fetish and you know it'll only be accepted in a certain place, you just hop right into that.
True. There's a lot of niches out there, and everybody likes their niche.
I don't.
You got a niche, Robbie?
No, I don't. We're not talking about this. I don't want to talk about.
You got a
this
niche?
Anymore.
No. Go
no,
on.
No.
What's your niche?
I got a nickel if you change the question.
I'll give you mine. I like the MILFs.
Dirty Mike and the boys.
Yeah. And I like them a little bit chunky too. You got to have something to hold on to.
Okay. That's put me in an awkward situation here. Thank you for that.
Well, see, you're safe now. You little skinny mini you.
Back to what we were talking about when you were talking about writing. When you write your Substacks, how much do I have to pay you to just investigate a certain topic? Like I was mentioning to you off air, if I wanted to get you to investigate Jonestown, like if you could pick one thing that you would do a bunch of research in, because what I started to learn about historians are you don't need you can have a degree to be a historian, but you can also be an investigative journalist, which is just researching the shit out of something for so long that you uncover something or you learn very, very much about something. I've reached out to plenty of people to talk about the Cold War subject. I'm curious to what your niche would be. What would be an area and time?
Yeah, just like the JFK stuff, like the more people that you talk to, the more you investigate it, the more stuff comes up, the more connections that you can make between stuff. Yeah.
But I'm asking,
I don't know. I've never been paid for journalism before.
What would be your specific thing? If you could pick a certain topic in history, pick a topic in history and tell me what it is, and I might pay you to research into it. I think you just need
Jonestown
motivation.
does sound pretty wild, though.
You just need motivation. There's a lot of areas in your life where I feel like you could easily do this so well, but you just need someone to tell you and like hire you for it. And I think that's how I am too. But this is what I want to do. So if you're saying Jonestown, I will give you the document numbers. I will give you everything to read. You can go on and you can do your own research as well too. And I recommend calling a lot of these people at this place, Jonestown, and get their experiences, read some of what they have written. They leave it, I think, all free material online, and then become really knowledgeable about this. And then in 2 months, we'll talk again, and I'll get you on the show to talk about
it. Cool. That does sound pretty neat, though. It'll give me something to do. I don't know, and I haven't really been doing the podcast so much. I like the Substack because it kind of gets things out of my mind. It's a little bit like a therapy, little writing therapy. And I also think that there's, get a chuckle here and there out of it and stuff. I think it's fun for people to read a little bit.
It does come off like you're pissed off and ranting when you do, right? I was reading some of you like, oh, well, fucking A, I stubbed my toe in there. I was just like, I'm like, Jesus, like he's just giving me his daily routine.
Well, it was a fun day. That was that Amazon one, right? Yeah, that was a rough day. I mean, the rest of it went really smooth, but those first 3 runs were a nightmare. I couldn't believe it. I was just kind of sitting there like, man, I am not getting paid enough for this.
I didn't know you worked at Amazon.
Well, I do a lot of gig stuff. So I mostly cleaned houses, and I was doing that full time. And it's good pay, but it's like really physical. And so I've been kind of branching out. And so I've been doing some Shipped, and I've been doing some Amazon Flex, and just trying to find some things that I could do that take a little bit less sweat equity. But so far, I mean, so far everything has just kind of been work is work. You know, if you're going to be doing something, you're probably going to have to be lugging something or something. And that's one thing I like about the Substack is that writing doesn't take physical effort. It takes mental effort. So instead of working and sweating and hurting my body, I get to just sit down in front of the keyboard, and it's a good time. It's a good time going through all this stuff and writing it. And it makes me feel good when I've done one, because I feel like I've accomplished something. Kind of like back when I was doing the podcast. I feel like I accomplished something when I put out a new episode. It's like, yes. And then I go on there and I see, oh, that 18 people have read it today. That's so cool. You know,
Why don't you just
people are
write about
checking
your
out my
town?
stuff.
Why don't you just write about your town?
Because my town sucks right now. I want to get out of this town. I just don't have money to do
That's what I'm saying. You call it like we call it like the Portland perspective, and then it's like, well, I went to the store today, didn't get shot, but I did see someone walk out with 10 Keurig machines, and it's like, just write that
it.
down. That's funny.
All day. I saw more crackheads on the corners. They like to walk out in front of you now. That's been a big thing. They're like uh constantly the roads are, they lower the speed limit on this road and this road and this road and this road, and you go, why are they lowering the speed limit? And it's because people are getting hit by cars. Well, the people that are getting hit by cars are crackheads that just walk out into the middle of the road while people are driving.
Is it crackheads or is it just the people that walk out and go, you won't hit me, and they just keep walking?
Well, okay, I have seen some teenagers, you know, it's always teenagers. They think they're the shit. I've seen teenagers that'll do that. You can't run me over. But no, mostly it's people that are just that are out of their mind. Like I saw this girl walking down the middle of the road on the way home the other day, up the highway, like where it's all these cars are going between 45 and 60 miles an hour, and she's walking up the lane barefoot. It's probably, it was almost 90 degrees at the time too. She was just not there at all. And she was walking, and then as I was watching, everyone was going around her, and then a police officer pulled up, and then they were like following behind her as she walked, like we got to figure out what we got to do about this girl. And it's just wild, and I get it all the time. I'll be driving, and then just some guy will just walk out of the corner of somewhere, and it just walk across the road, saunter, and usually they're just out of it. They just look like zombie people. And I'm like, get away from my car, get away from my car.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it. That's
That's right.
that's so different because here we have like we used to have some kids that would walk and like try and like act like you're not going to hit me, but then people started getting hit, and then like a lot of people were, because we live in a tourist town, and half the time people are like from out of state, or they're driving around, and they might be doing something, not paying attention, and they think you're just going to move out of the way as fast as possible. Then you get car accidents and stuff like that. My town is surprisingly really dangerous. It's like I had my buddy on, Mikey Bowser, and he's a paranormal investigator, and we were talking about like haunted locations, and he kept talking about an asylum, talking about a kid that they put his head on a post, like a bedpost, and the guys curb stomped his head in, and the kid was like 7 years old. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, where are you going with these? Like, he named like 50 locations, and they were all in West Virginia, where I was like, what the hell was going on in West Virginia? Like, he was like, yeah, people, like, sometimes the location's haunted, but it's also because people died out in the street. And it's like, what do you mean? Like, someone would just get hit by a car. I'm like, like, how dangerous are real places? And then you look like Pennsylvania during the Prohibition, alcohol running and all that type of stuff that was going down there. People were poisoned during the Prohibition. You're just like, yo, the real history of things is fascinating as hell. Like, my town is a place for a grisly murder that happened. And then, that was something they showed to us in school. Like, hey, this is what happened. We were on 60 Minutes. And it's like, my parents work at the place where they dropped off an arm in a dumpster. And then
Wow.
this couple from Virginia, like, met another couple, and they chopped them up and they dropped them all around, their body parts all around town, and ended up getting caught later. But I'm like, so it's not murder, we know, is not new. But when you start finding out, like, holy shit, like, there's a total of like 10 people each summer that die in my town from like boating accidents and things of that sort. Like, there's a dad on a pontoon boat, like, just like last year, and his kids were dangling off the front of the pontoon boat, and he had been drinking. You're not supposed to drink when you drive a boat. And he ran over his kids. when they
Oh,
fell
jeez.
off the front and like girl got sliced up by a boat motor and all that. You're just like, oh my
Mhm.
God, like don't
Oh, that's
go
horrid.
boating. Like that changes your whole experience. Your family vacation is fucking ruined. Like
Mhm.
people die at the fair. People go to Disney and they just don't, nobody dies in Disneyland. They just pronounce you dead outside
That's
the
right.
park. Like fucking
They
sick
put you
people.
down in the tunnels where no one knows where you are. They cart you out to the front, put you in an unmarked ambulance, and send you on your way.
Can you imagine choking on a churro at like Disneyland and they go, you have to leave the park? And you're like, someone save me. And you're like, hang on, we'll help you when you get outside of the park, just in case.
3 Disney characters run over and grab you and pull you into a wall that has a door you didn't know was there.
pull, pull them into a wall. I thought you were going to say van. Walls 10 times funnier. That's great.
Well, they are. There's so many walls like that in Disneyland. And if you walk around and like push on things and stuff, like there's a lot of stuff that it'll move and you're like, hey, that's a door there. It looks like a wall.
Well, I looked up, I haven't been to an amusement park in a very long time. I actually really want to go. I think my nephew now just became old enough to actually go to those things. So I'm like excited to like, yes, let's do it. But yeah, I like Six Flags. I would like to make a documentary about Disney. Um, but then that really scares me because like the government shit, that's like okay. But then if you talk about Disney, you will go missing. Like that
Right.
will
You might as
happen.
well try and do a Hillary documentary or
Oh
something.
yeah. There's plenty of those out there, though.
Yeah, there are. There are people out there that want to tell the truth, regardless of if it's dangerous for them,
You should
that's pretty brave.
you should make a Substack about Disney.
Oh, God, that'd be so long. Do you know how long it took me to write both of those? It's embarrassing. Like that, that first one took me 2.5 hours, and
Really?
the second one took like an hour and a half.
That's not
Yeah,
that
and
long.
it's just I I didn't have the typing muscles that I used to have back when I was in college and stuff. I would have to type up stuff all day, and I could just jump on there. And now it's like, oh, I got to relearn this almost. These fingers remember it, but they're slow. And and I was trying to use this little, in the little click pads that you put on your tablet. So it's like a third of the size of a regular keyboard. So it was even worse because I got fat fingers and I like on this little teeny thing. It's like I was playing a mini piano or something.
Do you think that more writers have been produced since technology has gotten better? Like more people are trying to be writers now? Like I noticed there's a lot of people who have written books. I mean, there's a lot more than I knew there was a lot of books, but and there's always been a lot of books, but I feel like since the typewriter, there's just more people reaching out to be a writer. Like I think it was during even the pandemic that numbers of writers had gone up significantly. That and also people who were baking sourdough bread. You could say it's boredom, but at the same time, it's like, well, now you have this thing in front of you and now you're trying a new thing. But the easiest thing about technology right now is like, even me, I could type something and it's pretty fun. Um, but what I find fun more is like looking through documents and stuff. I just got to make sure I label them correctly. Like if I label a document corn and then like I expect to know what the hell that means the next day, like what was I thinking when I said corn? It's like writing a joke. You're like corn, pizza, chicken, and then you expect yourself to remember the full fucking joke the next day. It doesn't make sense.
Or like trying to write your dreams down and then remember it's like, oh no, I don't even remember that anymore. It's gone. Yeah, technology has really made it nice for creatives. And I think that more people want to do it, and that's why they're trying to open up uh like open source sites and stuff so that people can put stuff out, like Amazon self-publishing and stuff like that. You never had that before. There was like 5 or 6 publishers that would publish your book, and if they didn't want it, nobody would take it. And now Amazon's like, hey, whatever, you wrote a book, man, that's awesome, get over here and we'll publish it for you. So I do think that's kind of cool. Same with like artists and stuff. Technology. Look how much digital artists have expanded since technology's gotten so good. And now they're trying to just take it over with AI art. So pretty soon we won't even need artists. We'll just have the AI do it all for us.
Yeah, the AI art is pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Some of it is pretty incredible.
I got some good designs from AI art.
You can kind of tell. You can still tell that it's not done by a human,
This was
but
done by a
it is
human.
pretty incredible some of the stuff that comes up.
This was done by a human.
Yeah, the human that typed in what they wanted on there.
No, this is Adam's drawing.
Oh, is that Adams?
Yeah,
Right
this is
on.
Adam's.
I know. I do love that design. It's cool.
Yeah. I just find it easier now to just because I like to do a lot of try and do a lot of stuff for myself. So it's like besides like when I'm making something, I don't want to keep asking people for, and that gets annoying after a while as well. So even if you're paying, it's just annoying of like, hey, could you do this? Could you do that? It's like, so I'd rather try and do it myself and try and figure it out as much as possible. I figure out if you do AI art, if you funnel it through like 50 different generators, hopefully you'll get a correct picture of something. But at the same time, they can't claim the rights to it because you use different generators to do it. So it's like then everybody would get a piece. So then it's like nobody owns it but you now, since it's technically an original.
Yeah, you know the one that I really liked that you did a while back was the one with all your different faces on it. It was like 9 squares with different faces that are you. I thought that was pretty cool because it was like this one kind of looks like the
They
gorillas,
they
and this one
took it
kind of looks
down.
like they took that off.
They took it down as soon as I uploaded it. I had to appeal it because they say it and they claim it. They go, "This is using someone else's photo." I said, "That's my fucking face. Like that's my
Yeah.
face, and it's my face multiple times. I'm not taking anybody's. It's mine. I made that. It's a filter effect where it shows me like holographic basically." And they go, "Sorry, it related to this." And I swear to you, I'm not joking about this. They went to Tom Holland's Instagram and showed a photo where he
Oh,
did
I knew it.
he only did
Tom
three
Holland
though.
strikes
But
again.
that's the issue. He did three faces. He did one in blue, one in red on the left, and then he did his real face in the middle. Mine was like 8 different faces, and they flagged it. And then they realized they're like, "Oh, sorry, my apologies," and they put the design back up. So now it's available. But I was just like, "What?" Like I get it. Like what? Some it flags a certain thing, but that's just I
See that the net nanny's taking over again. They just think everything is bad. Not everything is bad.
Well, I mean, YouTube updated their terms and services on some things when it came to like the magic juice and all that. But I just think it's like it's really, really dangerous. And like I get it. Like I understand if it's your platform, then yeah, we have to abide by your rules. But the issue with these entertainment industries and the issue what I really have when it comes to censorship is they leave it at an open door policy. And the reason why I say it's an open door policy doesn't mean just come on and walk right in. It's that they don't tell you the specifics of what you can and can't do. So then when you say something, they leave that open door policy for a reason so they can just flag you if they don't like the way that you're using something. So if they're in cahoots, if you make a video shitting on YouTube, now you can crap on YouTube, but as soon as they find something that is part of their rules where they say you can't say this, they'll extend it even farther to mean like, okay, now it just gives us a reason to ban that you don't like our YouTube. So we're just not going to have the video up there. And you're like, well, you never say anything about me talking trash on YouTube. Like, yeah, but you did mention, I think it was a metaphor for some type of magic juice. And it's like, well, hang on a second. That's not what that is. And it's like that open door policy. It's like when what's that new bill that just got passed where kids can now make purchases on apps?
No,
Um,
that's not a good idea.
yeah.
My
So
kids have done that a couple of times now, and it's been really hard to get them to reverse it. I remember Eric did that to his grandma when he was like 3 or 4. He went on and bought a bunch of stuff on an app game, and like it cost her like $80 or something,
Jesus.
and she had to fight and fight and fight with a Google Play Store to get them to take it off of there for her because she didn't buy it. It was a 3-year-old, you know.
I'm surprised she knew how to do all that.
She probably had it on one click pay. That was the thing. When we first got the kids tablets, we got them the Kindle tablets, and Amazon has that one click pay to pay your stuff, which makes it easier if you're an adult. But it's terrible if you have kids because they go, I want this, and they click on the buy button and it goes, click this one click pay and you're done. And then they click it and then you bought it.
They tackle
And
that
so what we did
convenience angle.
was we tried to go on there and take the one click pay off, and there's no way to do it. I think they do it on purpose. I think they do it so you give the kids the tablet, they buy stuff, and then they go, "Oh, sorry."
Well, it's what they do when they say you have to put when you make an account, they say some sites require a credit card to be on there and they say they're not going to charge you. The reason why they do that is that they offer you something where it's a subscription and then they just don't tell you that they keep on charging you because you already put your card up there. And it's like this, and I get it. Like Phil had a good point about this where he doesn't believe in the convenience aspect. I just think that a lot of people are like that, where it is more convenient. And it had me questioning more like, how much money do fucking people have? Like, where they're not checking their bank. Like, I'm not poor, but I'm just very, very conscious when it comes to my bank account. Like, I got a call the other day, and it was right after I used my card, and they go, this is from the whatever protection agency for your bank. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, we saw a charge from over in California for like $5, and then it was charged for $1, then it was charged for $1. And I was like, I don't know what I use in California. Could you read me off what it is? And they're like, well, your card's not activated right now, so you're not losing any money. And I was like, wait, so my card is deactivated? Like, if I want to go purchase something, like, yeah, you're not gonna be able to use it. I was like, all right, what's the charge? And it was freaking, because Zoom makes you pay now. Zoom makes you pay for so I got to pay for doing this. It used to just be free, and it's $15 a month. But what they caught the charge was is that I only spend $6 a day, and it's at a gas station every morning. It's the same gas station. And then if I get groceries someday during the week, it'll be like $50 or something. But they were charging us $5, and it was $1 charges. And they go, when it's a $1 charge like that, it's usually if they're checking if the card still works. And I go, well, hang on a second, what is it? And they said it's Adobe. I go, well, I use Adobe, and I do pay like $5 a month for Adobe for my editing software. But there's a memory thing that I got for $1 a month. So I go, it's probably that dollar charge. So they go, oh, it was our mistake. And I was like, well, thank you for catching it. Is my card activated? Well, now you're going to have to go to your bank. And I'm like, it's fucking Saturday. The bank closed at noon. I don't get off till 2. So I'm like, now I'm not going to have a credit card to use anything. So I didn't have it for like 3 days. It was like when I didn't have internet for 4 days. Dude, that was rough as shit. I wanted to shoot myself in the head.
I can only imagine you were pacing back and forth. It's like, when am I gonna have internet again?
Well, it's like
Man,
even
that
data on
that
my
had to be
phone wasn't
so
working.
tough.
There was no data on my phone. There was nothing I could literally do. I literally sat there. I literally, I think, slept. That was what I did for 4 days. I just like would go to work, and I would sleep when I got home, and I would keep sleeping and sleeping and sleeping or eating. And it was terrible.
That does sound horrible. 4 days with no internet sounds miserable.
It's a
How would I
luxury that
watch
became a
YouTube?
necessity. Bless you.
Excuse me. Wow.
Good God.
I caught it.
Okay. Does your eyes pop out of your head a little bit?
Nah, they're all
Yeah.
right. That's how I always sneeze. I don't like to let it out. I keep that all in there.
So
I
I'm
keep it inside like a man from the 50s.
I'm dead serious on getting you to investigate either Jonestown or just some type of cult. Like I don't, you can do the Moonies if you want. That's a new one I really haven't talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I haven't heard a lot about the Moonies either. I heard about them as a kid. I remember my dad mentioning them a lot.
I don't know what they are.
Well,
Is it
then
like a
we should
royal
look into
family?
that.
Is it a royal family?
No, I think no. Am I thinking of? I'm trying to think if I'm getting them confused with that other cult that was here in Oregon. Uh, was that the? No, that wasn't the Moonanites, was it? The Moonies. Yeah, the one where, gosh, now I can't even think of it. The one where they poisoned a reservoir. I
What?
don't know. I
What?
don't know. There was one. It was they were in Oregon, and it was a whole bunch of people joined this cult. And I thought that they got in trouble because they like poisoned a reservoir or something. And that was what finally it was the straw that broke the camel's back, and they went in and arrested them all and stuff. But I can't off the top of my head think of it.
Oh my God. I really hope I can. Okay. Yeah. So it was Mikey Bowser. He was telling me about one of these haunted locations, and he mentioned it was like this. There's a demon apparently at this haunted location. And like I said, I'm skeptical on a lot of that stuff, but he was showing videos to back up everything that he was talking about. And it was like pretty a little bit freaky. And he's the type that'll tell you if it's bullshit or not. He's not the type that's gonna fake it or anything. He likes just going and making the documentaries and stuff. And he talked about Moloch. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, this kid they think was sacrificed in this praise of this god named Moloch. And I'm like, yeah, Bohemian Grove. And he goes, not Bohemian Grove. I'm like, no. The statue. And apparently it's not an owl, it's some
It
type
is an
of
effigy
bull.
of
It's a
Moloch.
bull.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but it's not an owl statue, it's a bull statue. But the one at Bohemian Grove was called an owl statue. And it brings up the child effigy thing where you just start going, I mean, we know there's secret societies. And I've talked to people who are in charge of secret societies and people that study secret societies, but there's like a large amount, and I get it. It's fun. You know, you're hanging out with your friends, you get a beer and you get to be like, oh, we're part of the Freemasons. That's okay. But then there's the other end of that shit where people go out in the middle of the woods and they light statues on fire and they like wear gowns and ropes. And I mean, maybe that's fun too, but you're just like, how dangerous does this go? And you end up finding out that George Bush or his dad stole Geronimo's skull because he was part of, what is it, the Seven Bones Society or something like that. I
Yeah,
think
the
it's,
Skull and Bones.
yeah, Skull and Bones. And you're just like, what the hell are we talking about here?
Hmm. And these are societies that, yeah, have been passed down generation to generation, and yeah, they still exist to this day. And they just mostly it's networking. Mostly it's you get all these people together with money and connections, and then they assist their children with money and connections and keep the whole thing going. But yeah, there could be, in some of them, there could be a little bit of a darker element to it for sure.
Well, that's what I learned about like these CIA spooks. So for everybody listening, spooks is like intelligence characters. It's like a code name for these intelligence officers that are like deep, deep intelligence. And there's FBI spooks or CIA spooks. But these CIA people, what they would do is that like it's usually all family members. Like there's the dad who was in the CIA for 40 something years. And then they trust your dad so much that they go, well, his family is not a far get a new person. It would just be staying in the family. So that's why a lot of these family members, like Ruth Payne, who's involved in the JFK thing, people think is Central Intelligence Agency. She did small work for him. But then her sister was deeper in intelligence agency. Then her father was really deep in intelligence agency. Then her husband was deep in the intelligence agency. And you start realizing like there's all these weird connections, and that's what makes these things so damn difficult. And it's like when you start saying like that the JFK stuff's linked to the Ruby stuff, people go like, all right, yeah, whatever, and they roll their eyes. It's like, no, it is because of the deep connections of what everything is involved in. Like the stuff that is the most chaotic and disastrous is like they got the A team to try and go in there and handle that situation, and that's where it becomes a little bit hectic. And it means like the CIA, FBI. I mean, the real connection is that I want you to look into is the FBI's connection with Walt Disney. That file is ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, I guarantee that's some crazy stuff. Yeah, because Walt Disney did seem like he had his fingers in a lot of stuff.
Well, it's just like there's this giant fear of like communism, and it was like basically a safeguard to do whatever the hell you wanted. And nobody even brought up the question or thought to ask, what communism are we talking about? Like when we say communism, people think Russia, but like, did you know that they labeled people in Vietnam and they labeled people in like, what is it, Indonesia, communists? But to be communist, you can't be religious. And then like they're like, well, these communists are religious. So is there a different type of communism? And it's like that was a new question that was involved in people's heads. And it's just like, oh my God.
I think at one point it was just kind of bandied about. It was almost like a slur. It's like, what are you, one of those Reds? Are you one of those communists? Anybody that had a different idea than the narrative. It was a good way to label people, like they do with conspiracy theorists today. Back in the day, if you ask questions about things, they say, "What are you, some kind of commie? Why are you asking these kind of questions about our government?"
Yeah, but then what do you do if you have like because there's a document that I have that shows that the Apollo mission, there was a plan that if the Apollo mission ended in a failure, that means if the astronauts went up in the Apollo rocket and it exploded, what they were going to do is that they were going to blame it on Cuba. So it was like,
Wow.
that's real shit though. And it's like a lot of people don't know that. But if you talk about it, people roll their eyes like it's a conspiracy. I'm like, what are we? There's a damn, they're talking about it. They have it. We have it. We have it.
Oh, that was scary. They were having kids go under their desks and doing duck and cover at that time and stuff. They seriously thought that they were going to send nukes over at us.
It's not different with like, what was it? Like not even like 2 years ago, everyone was worried about Red Dawn actually happening. I think there was like one moment where I was standing outside, like I'm hearing planes. And I'm really hoping that like I was having scenarios where like there was just like you walk outside and there'd be people in Jeeps getting like other people out in the fucking grass and shooting them.
Yeah. Well, if that happens, I sincerely hope that it is from another foreign country and not from our government itself and our national forces, because boy, sometimes things start looking that way, especially with all the turmoil that's going on right now.
They just put something in the water and have you drink it and then you're okay.
Is that what they do? That way they put the fluoride in the water before.
Why do they put fluoride in the water?
Oh, because it's better for your teeth.
Why the fuck does the government care about my teeth?
Exactly.
Hang on a second. Hang
Exactly.
on a second.
They could use it as a nerve agent as well, but if you put it in the water, it's good for your teeth. It makes no sense. There's no reason for it.
No, can't
Somewhere someone's
stop.
making a lot of money.
This is where the academics say, I don't want to be a part of your show because you talk about conspiracies. It's like, damn it. Can you just look at the other 1,200 episodes I've done and notice I'm not, this is just recently new. Well, there's a lot of people that like, even people that like, I saw that with the COVID topic. A lot of people are talking about like this grand reset thing. And I'm like, well, how? Like, this is a lot of people that are really respected and people that are still in their careers that are not just putting themselves on the line because it's good for them. It's actually worse for them to talk this way. But obviously they've seen some stuff. And then you start realizing, well, a lot of that is like really kind of real in a sense. And it's like where I've been diving into the history of like, but that's the thing is like, I'm also interested in like, what was the British doing during the Cold War? And like, there are some people that know about it, but the weird part about their government is they have everything so on lock where like there's no secrets that get out of there. And that's like, that's the most difficult thing when you start learning about, many different things, many scenarios out there. And you're just like, well, I get it why people can think this type of stuff, but I don't know, fluoride in the water, that's a little difficult. It's like when I had to ask the question to that one guy who studied the supply chain, and I was like, why did they pasteurize our milk? Why did they put something in our milk? Like you can't sell raw milk. Like there's a scientific answer to it, but I don't necessarily know if I believe it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I do think pasteurization is mostly for health reasons because um, raw milk is way better for you, way easier to digest. But should it happen to be contaminated, which it's easier to be contaminated because there's no pasteurization, that it's just straight milk, straight from the boobs. And if there is something contaminating that milk, then people can get sick and possibly die. And I think that's one of the big reasons. But then again, there's also it's a money thing. I think they don't want people to be able to have cows and sell milk without being set up to sell milk. They're like, don't go, making profits off of this unless you're actually doing it the correct way that we say.
Do you think that it was always like that though?
Oh no, I think that back before we had our money system the way it is and stuff, I think there was a lot of bartering. I think that hey, I got a couple of cows, I got more milk than I need. You got a whole bunch of chickens, you got more eggs than you need. Let's swap, and they trade off.
Well,
Which if they go to this digital
stop.
currency
No, no, no,
system, we
stop,
may
stop,
end up going to that.
stop, stop. That's not what I meant. I meant is like with the idea of pasteurization because it helps you stop from getting sick from a contaminant in the milk. Was it always like that? Because if we look at like just our adaptations to things,
Ever
pe-
since Louis Pasteur, anyway,
well,
he's the one that created it.
like with wisdom teeth, we never had to worry about getting wisdom teeth taken out before. And then now we worry about it because we've just gotten so used to like this adjustments in the food styles that we eat that our mouths can't, they just don't, they can't deal with it. It just
We're
shrinkage,
not
whatever you want to
breaking
say.
down our teeth as much. Yep.
So you get to this aspect of like when it comes to milk, maybe in the beginning it was something different of why they pasteurize it. And then after a while, now it's become the truth because now people's stomach cannot handle unpasteurized milk properly because we've been so disconnected from it for so long. Because I know people that they run an organic farm or something, they don't pasteurize their milk and they make it raw and they'll sell it. They don't give a shit. It's mostly the Amish people because they get like an exemption to the whole rules and everything, but
Yeah, they get a lot of
they're
exceptions.
not like rare. They're just dealing with that. They've been so used to the original stuff that now their bodies are okay to handle it. They're not adapted to the sense of how we are adapted. That's like what's really weird is like if you look at periods in time, the way we've evolved through cinema is the most easiest example you can look at because you can just pull up a recording of anything. But also just like look what was acceptable sound quality 50 years ago. I'm listening to interviews with like old CIA agents and stuff, and it's like it's fascinating as hell, but it wouldn't pass at all today.
It sounds like you're listening to it through a tin can or something. Yep. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what did he even say there?
Well, it's like back when you used to watch TV. Now you just turn on your TV, you could talk to your remote, and the TV will do whatever. But then now, back in the day, you used to have to like dance on top of your TV with those antenna things and tinfoil to make sure your TV got the right reception.
Yeah. Move
Dude,
the antenna around
football
and
games.
did it a couple of
They did
times.
this thing new with football games that they will not broadcast the network in where your game is in your hometown because they want to incentivize people to actually go to the game.
Mhm.
That's bullshit. Before, like,
Wow, that's
you
wild.
now, so now people have to go on like streaming services to like be able to get their thing. They won't broadcast it on the television if you live in that town because they want to incentivize you to go to the game.
I
So
didn't even know they were doing that.
I just heard this recently. I was like, is that real? And I couldn't verify it, but like, because I had the football, I missed football, I guess it was Thursday, but that's what he said. And I was like, is that true? They're like, yeah. So when you're in your hometown, your normal news stations, your networks won't broadcast it in your town because they want you to go to the game and experience it. So a lot of people have to use streaming services now. And I was like, whoa, like, so they're forcing you to spend money?
That's so unfair. Like, there are so many people that can't afford to go to a football game anymore. It's ridiculous how much they want for football tickets.
Well, it's like when you learn like that, okay, like there are plenty, and this is like where I question, like, I know so many times I've been out with somebody and like, you might be drinking or something, or you might be hungry and you're like, oh my God, there's a Taco Bell conveniently placed right next to this alcohol store. And you're just like, it's God's sign of like, he wants us to have tacos. It's like, no, it's the fucking city planner that decided that it would be a really smart idea to put an alcohol store where there's going to be drunks and then put it right next to a fast food place because they know you're going to go right over there.
Or Taco Bell. They were looking around looking for a spot to put their new Taco Bell, and they went, "Hey, if we put it next to a bar, we're set.
I
We're gonna
know.
have hungry, thirsty people coming in here all day."
And it's like when you go to the bar and then you realize that they put the salted snacks on the thing so you get more thirsty and order more drinks. Like, everything is a lie. And you're just like,
Yeah, it's all
why?
subtle
You think
manipulations.
they're watching out for you, like the grocery store. It's 2 for $5. Wow, you really care that we're going through some tough times. No, it's not. They're the same price as one, but they just do that yellow sticker and tell you 2 for $5, and you think it's the best damn deal they've ever had.
He must shop at Safeway.
I know. I shop at like Save a Lot and Food Lion, and they do all that shit.
Yeah, always the yellow tag. That's what catches my eye. Those are the ones that I buy because I'm like, oh, it's a deal.
I would like to be in that board meeting when they first designed like those advertisements that were just going to get stuck. Like when you do a Coke commercial, just like being in that boardroom, what gets really, you have someone riding on a bike, you have them hot and you have them like you're dripping with sweat, and then you just have them drink a nice cold glass Coca-Cola, and we'll broadcast it only in the summertime. And then during winter, what we'll do is we'll do a polar bear, we'll do Santa Claus, and he'll hijack that.
He'll be with the family. They'll be wrapped up in blankets with their bottles of Coca-Cola on a cold night. Yep.
But then they changed it because society changed. They're like, okay, people worried about too much about global warming, so we can't show polar bears anymore. And then also people that don't celebrate Christmas. What about Hanukkah? We don't want to be pieces of shit. So no more. I mean, Coca-Cola was the people that put out that article that said how to be less white. And it was like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about?
ah, oh, fun stuff. Fun stuff.
I mean, if you're any person out there and you're looking at a advertisement company or a fast food place and they change their banner for a rainbow picture in support of whatever, they're fucking lying to you. Like at least Chick-fil-A stands their ground and they're like, we
It's
don't give
all
a
a
fuck.
marketing scheme. They're like, it's all that virtue signaling to make people go, oh, well, they stand for me. I'm going to go, patronize them more now because of that. But you think that most of the people out there kind of can see through it and go, this is just them jumping on the bandwagon with everything else. Besides, the motto is right now, go woke, go broke. Every single film that's coming out with all inclusive cast. We've got black people, white people, sort of brown people. We've got crippled people. We've got women playing men. We've got men playing women. And you know what? They're all sucking.
Yeah, but they wouldn't make a film like that if they didn't care so much about people pointing out those things that they don't even really like. Nobody like Quentin Tarantino, when he makes a film, he doesn't think I need this certain member of cast. He just goes, I've worked with these people before. I want to use them again. Adam Sandler, I've used this cast before. I'm friends with these people. I want to use them again. If I made a film, I'm not thinking about trying to knock off every checkbox.
Definitely. That's where they're messing up. Is it's like have have your group of people, have that group of people be a wide variety of people, but you can't just be trying to put people into roles because you have to fit someone in there that's trans or you have to fit someone in there that's disabled, because it doesn't work that well.
Well, look at She-Hulk. She-Hulk just completely ruined the whole Hulk industry, basically. They had her twerking
Yeah,
in one of the
so much
things.
hate.
Oh my
And so
God.
much hate for it, man. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, but people forget about it and go on to something else.
Yeah, these are the same people that watched Ally McBeal with the dancing baby and stuff. They've been doing that kind of stuff for years. For years, girls have been dancing in sitcoms.
We evolved to a place where Seinfeld made a freaking staple off of the soup Nazi. And they
Yeah.
created this character, and it was like they slip it in at the right time, like when Tropic Thunder was okay, and like nobody questioned Robert Downey Jr. playing blackface, but then like would they be able to do that today?
No, definitely not. I still don't know how he got away with it.
I
To
think
this day,
he
it
mentioned it in
blows
an
me
interview.
away.
He was like, "Thank God." Like, because I think people his like Tony Stark role really any if like for instance the Homelander guy, if he went to go make another film, nobody would think of him as like, "Oh, that's that actor." No, they would just be like, "That's Homelander."
Yeah, exactly. They'd be like, "Oh, there's that asshole. Oh no." He's going to be typecast for the rest of his career. In every movie he's going to be in, they're going to think he's the egotistical jerk face because of his role. Look at all kinds of bad guys get that in films. Look at Draco from Harry Potter. He has people walk up to him and throw stuff at him in the street.
That's
You
who is it?
know,
Who is it? That's Billy Zapka. That's the guy who played the real Karate Kid from Cobra.
oh yeah, him too.
And
Yeah.
they finally made the new Cobra Kai series, and I think now his reputation is just starting to come back as be like as this nice guy, not a bully.
Yeah, I've watched quite a bit of that. I like it. I thought it was pretty good. They did a good job with it.
It got aggressive when they were fighting in the school and they kicked the kid off the balcony and he slammed on his neck. And I was like, holy shit, somebody's getting arrested.
That's a lot more fighting than I saw in
Yeah.
school. In school, fights were usually like two people would get mad, everybody would be around them, like, get them. And then they'd like flail wildly at each other for a couple minutes until someone walked in and pulled them apart, and then that was it. Nobody got dropped on their neck usually. Nobody got kicked over. Nobody was pulling out good karate moves. It was just them, just two kids that didn't know how to fight, trying to fight with each other.
Also, you dealt with it for a week. Now people record it and they remember it forever.
Yeah, true. That's the thing. Cameras are everywhere nowadays. I've gotten to the point now where I don't even worry about it. So that means that it's been instilled in me so much that I just feel like there's a camera on me at all times now.
I wonder what the adaptation to online schooling has done for that.
I don't know, but I know it was garbage. It's just there's not enough connection. And I don't think they really taught the kids much of anything when they did it. It was just a bunch of kids trying to talk over the teacher and not really learning much.
Well, it made me interested in looking at like people that go to online college compared to going to actual college. I did a lot of online college and then I also went to classes as well too. But yeah, the online stuff is like you're not really learning a whole lot. Like, maybe some people are like if they're specifically interested into it, but it's way too easy to fill out an assignment or do an assignment without really paying attention to anything.
You have to be a real self-starter to do online college successfully, because you have to kind of motivate yourself, whereas if you go to regular college you have professors and stuff that motivate you. So if you're a self-starter, if you're like one of those people that just works by yourself, well, then I think that online college is a good way to go.
Well, like the number of people that say that a degree is bullshit, and it's like that's their best example. Is like you got to look at like you can just get. I got a degree, and it's not like was it was like this hard route that people say like I went in $100,000 in debt and I'm still in. I didn't do any of that. It was just like I got the degree, and that was it. And then what the fuck? I'm not even using it, and it's just like you get to this other aspect of like I wonder the same people that say like a degree is bullshit, it really became solidified when they added UAP studies to a college class. So now you can get a degree in UAP studies.
All these people out there with like liberal arts degrees and stuff, and you're like, what are you going to use that for? How is that going to ever make you money or give you a career in life?
I'm okay if it's like a passion hobby and like people want to do what they want to get a job in something that they care about. But there's like way too much stuff that's like really niche. And I figured out why that is. It's because you can probably write a book about it. There are people that like studied like the importance of this one film in a movie that really changed it. You're like, well, what was the importance of it? Well, this specific movie happened to be the first movie ever that was broadcasted showing veterans and what they go through experience wise before PTSD was known. And then it's like, okay, so that's a very, but they wrote a book about it. But then like their next book is something completely different. And you start like getting into this aspect, like a lot of historians are divided into two categories. There's the historical events that we know, but then there's a whole other era of it. And it is the economic side of stuff. Like a lot of historians are economics. Like they look at I actually reached out to someone to talk about this at one point. I had someone before that tried talking about it, but he was way too old, which is
It is interesting though, because you hear the historical all the time, but you don't hear the economic a lot.
well, I had a guy trying because I wanted to learn more about the Industrial Revolution because there's two pathways in the Industrial Revolution a lot of people don't know about, and I didn't know about it either. And I only figured it out because of this game Fable that I used to play where they talk about the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, I remember Fable.
So it had me
Good set of games.
interested in what the Industrial Revolution was, and there's two sides of it. One, people think that the Industrial Revolution was this whole transverse, and it's literally the category of events where business became the new model in the society and personal got put on the back burner. But other people said that the Industrial Revolution was this revolutionary thing, and it was. That's why they call it the Industrial Revolution. But it was so good that it really increased the way that society has gone, and there's not really a downside to it. Now, you can fight both arguments on that. The good part is, yes, that is when factories and we started producing more, which is very, very important for economies and things of that sort. But also, is it being distributed properly? There's the healthy elite 1%. And also, we have to think about child labor laws. I mean, they had kids that were 6 years old that were in factories and working. That was a bad thing, but that was just the time. So, when I had this guy on my show to talk about it, I think the conversation went 5 minutes and I ended it. And then I told him I couldn't post it because his voice was like way too, like he was barely talking like this. And he started it off talking about his daughter died. And I just was like, I can't. Like I'm not gonna. I told him I was like nobody's gonna listen to it because it's just not listenable. And I wasn't trying to be mean to him, and I like was very very sorry and everything of that sort. But the guy was like 97 years old, and it happens, and it's not my fault. I feel like a piece of shit for denying it, but it's just it wouldn't be good. People would just like I had you that one episode. You're like these clicks that keep going on in the episode. The guy had fake teeth, and he kept clicking and sucking in his like doing that every time.
Yeah,
So that's not my fault. And that's like, I don't want to be rude and then post it and then they get mad because it made them look bad. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to have this.
certainly. And it would be so hard to go through and edit that out.
So I'm going to have this other person on to talk about the Industrial Revolution and these two impacts. And the guy's an economist. And I started to realize that the economy in the Industrial Revolution is the best progress besides just looking at the factors of the historical events in the time period. Because if you look at the historical record, you're only going to write down the shit that's really, really important. And when you look at the economy side, there's important factors in there. Like when did the inflation happen? When did the deflation happen? When did the price go up? When did this go? And it's just this whole list of categories. You start realizing, okay, this is another side of history, but it also, when you're able to calculate why in this time period between 1900 and 1910, was there this increase? And then at 1910, getting into the depression of the 20s, there's this huge drop off. What is that? And then you look into the events around that time period, alcohol being illegal, so many things happening, war, and you start realizing, okay, so now you can trace from the record of the
Massive
economics.
inflation.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's interesting.
It is. I think that's cool. Right on. Yeah. It's delving into something from a different point of view and finding new things about it that aren't just the main historical narrative. So I think that's pretty rad.
Well, I think sometimes you're going to learn something and it's going to be boring as shit. But then other times you learn something and it turns out to be really fascinating. I think it's just about trying to find the fascinating aspect of it. And I think that's why it's, if you're going to get a degree in, 20th century British stamps, and then like I didn't think that was going to be interesting, but then you find out that like, okay, stamps have a really dark history and it actually links to a lot of the CIA and FBI's invasion into the post office of watching people's mail using stamps. And you're just like, oh my God, like what?
True, because with stamps, they could tell every single country that every piece of mail came from. So they know right off the bat. And they're like, oh, we better check that out. That's from one of the countries we're watching right now.
And they pick up a landline and say he was 30 degrees away from this post office and 20 coordinates up and 10 latitudes down.
Pretty much. They didn't have a hard time because landlines barely made it that far back then.
Remember when people used to be afraid that someone would stick like a needle in one of those coin return things in the landlines, and if you put your finger in there, you get AIDS? People were
Oh no.
Remember that?
No,
it was the
when
AIDS
I was
scare.
a kid, it was when I was a kid, it was the needle in the seat at the movie theater. That was the one that we got all the time. There was a movie theater and a guy sat down and he poked himself when he sat down, and then he looked down and there was a needle sticking out of the seat at the movie theater, and there was a note that said, "You have AIDS," and that guy got AIDS. That was the narrative when I was a kid.
I learned about that when I was trying to look at all these myths that were out there, like where do these myths come from? And there was strawberry quick meth, which was people were using Nestle chocolate, the powder, and they had a strawberry version of it, and people were trying to use it. And they said you can create meth from it, and like it was a big. But that was another thing with the gas pumps, is that they would stick a needle syringe of AIDS, and then if you check the gas pump before you, and it's just like,
That's all right. I don't pump my gas. I live in Oregon.
oh, they do it for you.
Yeah.
That's right. There's
Yeah.
New Jersey, and then there's
Us in New
Oregon.
Jersey. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. I hate it. I honestly would rather pump my gas. I worked at a gas station for years. It's easier to just do it myself. It'd be faster.
Do you
I
feel
could get
bad?
there, do it, and be done. Take off.
Do you feel bad when you ask somebody to pump your gas?
Hey, sometimes they wash my window for me. So then they get a tip. So
You're
it's
such
not
a.
bad.
Oh, you did tip them. Okay, that's fine.
Oh yeah, I always tip someone. If they wash my window, if they go to the trouble, hell yeah.
I couldn't imagine going to another place and someone goes like, "Oh no, sir, it's illegal to pump your own gas." I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
It is and it isn't. It's like a soft illegal. Like it's like a, hey, you shouldn't do that, but I'm not watching. That's what, because a lot of the times there'll be one person running, 8 pumps, and they're out there by themselves, and people get impatient and they get out and just hang it out themselves. And you know what? If they already paid with their card, whatever, it's already been paid for. They just hang up the gas pump. It's not hurting anything. Diesel you can pump yourself. That one you're allowed to.
Why?
It's not dangerous like gasoline.
Wait, what? Is that real? Is that real?
No, it's real. You can
That's
pump your own
fucking
diesel.
stupid.
And if you drive a motorcycle, you can pump your own gas, because too many places were getting sued for trying to fill their gas tanks and getting gas on the gas tank and messing up their paint jobs. So they started letting motorcycles do their own gas too.
What I would like to, I think it would be probably more valuable to have someone pump your air for you, put air in your tires.
I do. I go through Les Schwab.
They do it for you?
If I want air in my tires, yeah, I bought tires there. So if I want air in my tires, I go there and say, "Hey, my tires need to fill," and they just go, "Okay, psst, 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 fill them up for me."
That's not normal. That's not over here. No, that's
Oh,
not
I
over
pay
here.
them thousands of dollars, so they will fill my tires anytime I want.
I had a Kia at one point, like one of those Kia Souls, when I was like one of my first cars besides the Durango. And when I went to go put a headlight in, there was way too much to, like, you couldn't just, in the newer cars, it's so hard to take the headlight out. And they probably do that on purpose for a reason. But then the car I have now is like from 2000. I mean, it's so old that, like, the radio, if you have the radio on, you have the heat on or the AC on, and then you try and roll your window down, your headlights will dim because the battery can't power all of that.
Yeah.
So when I go, okay, well, let me buy the bulb for this to replace a headlight. And I go, well, how much is it going to be? They're like, it's probably going to be like $40 to replace your headlight. I was like, for one headlight? They're like, well, with the headlight and then also replacing it, it's going to be around $40. I'm like, well, give me the bulb and I'll do it myself. And I went out there, dude, not even 2 seconds. I was done. And I was like, this is way easier than my Kia was. And I thought it was going to be like this extreme process, but that's what you love about old cars. They're not made of
Yeah,
fucking
my old
plastic.
cars were so easy to deal with. Yeah, anything I needed to do, I could do myself. On this new car, I got a 2017 Ford Edge. I can't do anything on that car. It's all computers, all the bells and whistles. Yeah, I can't mess with anything on that car because I'll just mess it up. I have to actually take it to a shop to do almost everything.
I just don't like the new stuff. My when I had to use a temporary car when mine was getting fixed, I used one that had lane assist. And I went to go turn into a lane and it corrected me. I was like, excuse me.
No, I turned that off.
Yeah,
I don't let the car drive for me. It does. I have the warning on though, so if I start to veer out of the lane, it'll go boo, boo, and it'll like buzz my
I don't
steering
like
wheel.
that. I don't like that.
But I only let it buzz me. I don't let it drive me.
I think there's certain things in society that you can accept transferring over to new stuff, and there's certain things that you just can't.
Mhm.
And
Oh, you know what else is cool? Really cool.
hold on,
Um,
real quick. I got to clarify just in the technological stuff. I want to make sure that doesn't get mistaken for like societal issues. All right, go ahead.
well, that's what I'm talking about. Technologically, one thing that's really really cool now is that my car has cruise control, and I can set how far I want to be from cars, and it will keep me that far away from a car, like to the behind me and in front of me.
What
So
do you
that is pretty cool.
what do
It'll
you
slow down, speed up, and it'll keep me in that bubble.
what do you think about connected cars?
I think it's not a bad idea. I mean,
Have
you
you
it would send information from ahead, so cars would know what's coming and stuff. I think it's not a bad idea. I just don't like cars being autonomous and being able to drive themselves. I think
have
that's kind of scary.
have
So
you heard of me talk about it on the show before, connected vehicles?
yeah,
Because I think that's really, really new, and it's probably going to be a lot of work to get done. But it is very, very easy if your car can sense that there's a first responder vehicle. So it suggests it moves you out of the way, or it tries its best to make it's able to connect. Like I think if a first responder vehicle had a transmitter in its car to be able to change the light when it's approaching it at a certain distance, to where it's safe enough that people can stop, not just be an abrupt stop, but be enough so the light can change for them. Like we used to be have those tips where you would flash your high beams twice and then the light would change when you rolled up to it. I mean, that was like some lights do that, some lights don't. But I think having a first responder vehicle, or if an emergency situation, you're able to have a transmitter in that vehicle to be able to send a signal to be able to change the light so you can get through and get to the emergency. Yeah.
or if there's an accident, or if there's a stalled car up in the road. Right now, I drive with Waze on. I don't set it to like take me where I'm going because I hate it when it tries to navigate me. But I turn on Waze because it tells me whenever there's a car that's stalled on the side of the road. It tells me where the traffic jams are at, and I have a feeling it would be like that with cars when they all communicate with each other. They would be like, hey, the huge traffic jam going on this street, you should go over to this street. We got a car broken down in the right lane right now. Make sure that you're over and safe. And I think that kind of stuff would be helpful.
I have myself muted. There's a person on the street on meth, and your car is able to detect that person. But then you'd have to go to like every single. If you're gonna do drugs, put this transmitter in your back pocket so other of these AI cars know where you're at.
Put this air tag in your pocket, and then do all the crack you want. You'll be safe. And if you walk into the road, all the cars will know it and will avoid you.
Used to have the Boy Scouts that used to walk little like grandmas across the street. What about like just having like someone that just is hired by the city to like get people out of the street who are on like crack nodding out, like just like pull them? Like that's a big thing in Baltimore.
I think what it needs is people need to stand up and say, hey, we're just tired of seeing this stuff, because that's when change finally happens,
Good luck.
is when everybody stands up and goes, we're tired of this crap. We're tired of people getting shot in the streets. We're tired of people, crackheads running around, mental people that should get help, are just wandering the streets because there's no one to help them. We got, homeless people in piles everywhere. There's tents and tent cities everywhere, all over.
Well,
Any open space, any open field or area around any kind of off ramp or road is taken up by homeless people right now, and they make giant encampments. It's horrible looking.
well, you can't just set up a subscription thing where people think that they can just donate money and people will clean up the streets. You got to actually take some initiative
No, people
yourself,
have to actually say, hey, we don't want this here. Go away. Get out of our city if you're going to do this crap.
or at least let you guys carry a gun.
I'm thinking about it. I've thought about concealed carry for the last couple of years now,
There was
just in case.
I just watched a video where a guy was like 23 years old was like he was like crazy, like mentally just not right. And he went to his ex-girlfriend's house and he was like banging on the door. He's trying to open up the door, and the dad just took pop shot right through the door and hit the kid. And the kid, like you see it from the ring cam, the doorbell camera, just ran out into the driveway and just fell and was like holding himself like he got shot in the stomach. And the neighbors came over like, what the hell's going on? And they explained what happened. And the guy goes, well, he's dead. And the cops came, they explained everything. The guy, I think, he just got a warning. It was like it was some type of stand your ground law where he was at. And it was like, yeah, it's like there are some places that they don't accept that. You get the worst penalty if that happens. It's like, well, what do you do when someone is coming into your house and robbing you? Like, you got to be able to stand up for yourself, shoot him in the leg or something.
Oh, there are places where if someone comes into your house and robs you and you hit them with something, you can get in trouble.
So,
It just depends on state's laws. Yeah.
so dumb. So dumb.
Yeah, definitely. If someone comes in my house, my family's here. At the very least, they're going to get hit with something heavy,
Beat the shit out of them.
right? I'm going to turn into Jackie Chan if someone breaks into my house. It's whatever is closest that I can grab and hit them with. That's what I'm going for, because I can't have weapons because I have children. So they're going to just get the ice maker is going to hit him in the face or something. Next thing you know, I'm going to pull this rack down and smack him in the face
I
with
just
that.
I just picture someone warning you, not the Keurig, and you just like put the Keurig down and then grab the ice machine and throw the
yeah,
ice
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I can't make iced coffee in the morning if I hit him with a Keurig.
Oh,
That's my addiction right now. Iced coffee. Oh, so good.
God, it's so basic.
So good.
No, it's not.
I know. I'm just a basic bitch.
I stopped drinking coffee for a little bit. It was just I've been cutting down on energy drinks, so I stopped drinking coffee as much. But I've been drinking more
I quit
moonshine.
energy drinks. Yeah, I haven't been doing energy drinks. I keep hearing all these stories about people in their 40s that drink a ton of energy drinks and just keel over of a heart attack. And I'm like, I guess I could avoid that.
Or it's the fluoride in the water.
Oh, maybe. I've been drinking the water for a long time.
Like some people's
and it's in my
tap taste.
toothpaste.
Why does your tap water taste different? Must be the pipes. No, it's not. You're in a certain area where they're trying to increase the knowledge in your population. What's the basic IQ? That's it. Check the number of fluoride levels compared to the number of IQ levels in that place, and you'll know if they're dumbing down the population or not.
Yeah, that would be a pretty easy thing to check too. Yeah, I don't know if they put fluoride in the water anywhere around here for a long time, but they used to when I was a kid. I know they did.
It's in your
because I
toothpaste.
remember him talking about it. Well, yeah, but your toothpaste you spit out. You're not supposed to swallow it.
Says who?
Although, you know what? I was 44 years old before I found out you're not supposed to rinse your mouth after you brush your teeth. You're supposed to brush your teeth with toothpaste and spit it all out and leave the residue from the toothpaste so it continues to kill germs and bacteria and keeps your breath fresh. I didn't know that.
Thought that's what mouthwash was for.
No, yeah, actually, mouthwash is pretty bad for you, but I'm addicted. I still use it every now and again.
What do you mean you're addicted to mouthwash?
Well, because like,
are you swallowing it?
Well, I have really bad teeth, and so I get stuff stuck in my teeth all the time. And like, I can sit there with a toothpick and pick, but it takes forever. So it's just easier to just run to the bathroom, grab some mouthwash, swish it all out and spit it out. But yeah, but mouthwash isn't like really super good for you.
Why?
And it's just a lot of crap in it that you don't really need to be putting into your system.
I mean, you're not supposed to swallow it there. You just spit it back
Especially if you have bad teeth, because then it's just going into these holes in your teeth and getting into your bloodstream and stuff.
Good God.
Yeah.
It's like when I figured out that like there's these guys I used to work with.
Everything kills you a little bit.
Well, there's these guys I used to work with. They used to take a credit card and go through their teeth with the credit card. I was like, but you put that into a machine. You put that into people's hands go on that. And it's like, people don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are gross.
At this point, I'm pretty sure most people that are on TV have false teeth. Like I'm 100% sure that's most. I just watched a video where like I guess this was just recently, but it was all these girls on like it was like a View type show, like The View, and they were all in this news like Good Morning America type thing, and they were all sitting around, like 6 or 7 of them, and I think that was the girl who played in. Oh my God, she hosts Whose Line Is It Anyway? The newer version.
Okay.
Ascilla. She was in Balls of Fury. She was the blow dart lady.
I gotcha.
Okay. You know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So she was on there and I guess they were talking about some movie and the one girl goes, I'm tired of how dressed up we got to be on the show. And she takes out her hair extensions, like a little clip of it and was just whirling it around like that as a joke. Then another girl did it. And then another girl did it. Then they go, you do it. And she's like, no. And she just goes, fine. And she takes off her whole wig thing.
Wow.
And the girl goes, I'll do you one better. And she grabbed her mouth and started pulling on her mouth like she was going to take her teeth out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait a minute. So like, and they all laughed at that because they all probably have false teeth. And you start realizing like when you're a kid and you're worried about how, like, even as an adult, like you're worried about how your mouth is, you're worried about this. So many people have false teeth or they have work done and you don't know. Like there are some things you could tell someone had work done, but there are some things where it's like, they build a society that's so pro body image, but at the same time, half the stuff we see on television, people have so much work done to make themselves look like that. Like, I think there was a real photo of like, what would Jay-Z and Beyonce look like if they weren't rich? And they looked like not as good as they do now. And you realize, yeah, it's because they have a lot of work done.
It's the biggest lie. It's the lie of, we shouldn't have to worry about our body image. And then every single thing that we consume tells us that we have to have this body and these teeth and wear these clothes and go to these places. And so it's like it's a huge lie.
It's not that it's not that they're pro body image now. It's just like they're subtly telling you this is still how you have to be.
Mhm.
Which, I mean, I don't know. I think at this point, you really shouldn't give a shit what anybody thinks, just because it's not like you're going to see those people anyway. Like, start going to the store in sweatpants. It's the easiest thing to do.
I love it. Every once in a while I do that.
And if someone judges you, you just throw a turnip at them or something.
That's right. I just say, motherfucker, I got kids at home. I'm lucky I can get to the store.
Yeah, no. That's always everybody's excuses. I got kids. I don't have time for that anymore. It's like, oh my God.
It's an inordinate amount of time that they take from you. I can't believe how much of my life I've spent taking care of kids now, because when I got with my first wife, I was 19 and she had a 2-year-old. And so I started at 19 taking care of a 2-year-old son. And then we had another one. And then we broke up when they were like 15 or 16 and like 9 or 10, somewhere in that. And then I meet Jamie and we get together and we have a couple more kids. And so I have spent 25 years now taking care of children. It's crazy. It's been like my life's goal that I never chose.
So the amount of time in your life that you probably saved from cutting off energy drinks have been reduced by your kids.
Oh yeah, for sure. I got gray hairs because of those little yeah, for sure. And my beard's starting to go all gray.
Yeah, but it's like
You can see the stress.
whenever you get into like one of those ads that they see, like, well, the cigarette reduces your life by like 10 years. And then it's like, well, energy drinks reduce it by 5. Then it's like, when then fast food reduces it by 7. And then it's like, but they don't tell you TV reduces it by like 12 years. Like, your brain is slowly getting fried out of your head.
I'm killing it with anime right now. That's the only other thing that I put in a lot of is I've been watching the heck out of anime. I got One Piece all caught up, and there are like 1,030 episodes now. I just finished the first run on Naruto. That's like 200 episodes and some. I'm deep into My Hero Academia. I finished all of Demon Slayer.
All right. I'm not getting into this conversation. You tell me you don't have any fucking time to do anything. It's because you're
I,
watching anime.
when I'm watching it when I'm putting my kids to bed,
So you're half
because
doing
I've
both
got
things.
nothing better to do than to sit there and watch this while I'm going, go to bed, go to sleep.
That's
please
how you
go
put
to
them to
sleep.
bed. Most people like have to
Please,
walk them in
please
there
go to
and
sleep.
sing them a story or something like that.
Oh, I have to do that beforehand.
You just tell your kids to fuck off and go to bed. That's fine.
I wish.
That's how
It'd make
parents
it
used to
much
do it back
easier.
in the day. They used to just shut you in your room and lock it and then shut the lights off. And you used to just have to cry
I
yourself to
remember
sleep.
that. I had that as a kid. I had bad night terrors from that. My parents used to just, close the door, leave me in the dark, and then I'd have bad nightmares, and they'd have to come in like the middle of the night and comfort me.
You can really solve all your problems if you just got a dog, because then your dog would keep the kids busy all the time. And then all you have to do is really worry about keeping the dog happy and not jumping off the fucking roof.
But then that's a dog that I have to walk at least once a day
That's easier
and
than
pick up after.
having to deal with entertaining your kids the whole time.
Yeah, that's true though. Entertaining my kids takes a lot of work.
I didn't
They
know that.
always
I
I
asked my
have to be a performer for them. I
well,
have to do voices,
Oh,
sing
hang on. My
songs.
grandma had 4 kids, and my grandma told me the best thing you can do if you have a bunch of kids, and she gave the advice to my brother who has 2 kids, and she just goes, just get a dog. And my brother's like, I don't have time to deal with that. They go, no, 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 no. The one problem solves the other problem. And then you just got to worry about the one now. So you don't have to worry about both kids. Yeah, but feeding and all that's normal, but you could do that all at the same time. And it was just like so laid out where I was like, holy shit, wait a minute. So
That does make some sense.
it seems like it's going to be more of a hassle. You just got to get a dog that you know that your kids are really going to want to play with all the time. And it's even easier when it's a puppy, because then they entertain the puppy. You don't have to worry about the puppy crying all the time. Then your kids having night terrors. You just bring the puppy in or you bring the dog in. Next, you know, like when I was a kid, I slept with a Dalmatian for, well, that sounds wrong. Hang on a second. There was a
No, I had a
Dalmatian.
dog when I was younger too.
Let me clear that up. Let me clear it up. There's a Dalmatian that slept on the floor when I was a kid at my grandparents' house, and it helped me be comfortable because they were a couple of states away, and I was very little, and I did not, ever leave the house basically to go anywhere. It was like one of the first times you spend the night somewhere else, and that thing for 100% worked. I didn't have to worry about freaking out or doing anything like that. Nope. There was a dog there, and the dog keeps you busy. You get scared at night, you got the dog right beside your bed protecting you.
Yeah, I remember most of my childhood. I slept either on a dog or beside a dog, or with a dog down at the foot of the bed.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
I don't know. I live in an apartment, and we got a cat one time as an experiment, and the cat got fleas so bad because everybody in the apartments have animals, and all their animals have fleas, and they don't care, and they just come under the door and attack ours. And the next thing we knew, the fleas were out of control, and I have no like, there's no protection under the door. There's nothing that keeps them from not just coming under the door. So that is a difficult part there.
Yeah, that's a housing issue. I can't fix that one.
Yeah,
You just got to move out of Oregon.
that's all right. I don't know. I do like Oregon. I think I just need to move a little bit away from Portland. I need to get somewhere where it's not quite as urban. Not urban as in like black people, but like urban as in like just too many people in general trying to live in too small a space.
Just go where there's less people like nodding out on the street.
Yeah, I know because I drive to Damascus. It's like 10 miles from here, and it's beautiful. And I go into the Safeway there, and they're not missing whole chunks of their shelves of merchandise and stuff. All of their shelves are completely full of food and meats and everything. But then I go to the store here, and I'm lucky if they have ground beef, or they're completely out of the milk that I buy or something. It's ridiculous. It makes me want to just drive 10 miles there just to go buy stuff at the store where everything's at.
10 miles is not that far.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
So it's pretty easy, but I guess maybe traffic and maybe some people walking in the middle of the street might make it a little bit difficult.
Ugh. Yeah. Just it's too much. It's too much. We're gonna have to. They need to put in some laws where you can't camp anymore.
Jesus, there's people in Yellowstone like, hey, I like
Yeah,
camping.
yeah. Urban camping. We need to get rid of this urban camping because all
Just
it
don't
does is
camp where
just
there's a
junks up
sidewalk.
areas.
That's it. Don't camp where there's a sidewalk.
Yeah, anywhere there's a sidewalk that works.
The sidewalk is for walking, not for standing and talking or making a TikTok, and also not pitching a tent and calling it home.
Like we've got a big bike trail that goes all the way from downtown Portland way out to Boring, and it's like a good 40-mile trail, and it's almost too unsafe to go on anymore because just all the way along it is just homeless camps, and you got to dodge and weave your way through all these homeless people and all their trash and stuff, and it's junky. There's broken cars all over the place. There's shopping carts and just all kinds of refuse. I don't know what it is about homeless people having to have all kinds of stuff. Why did they need so much stuff? They're homeless. You don't got a home to put it in.
Calm down.
Why do you need
Calm down.
3 shopping carts full of stuff?
Look, if you raise, it's increasing the property value. I don't know. I'm not going to yell at somebody for keeping things. I
don't understand it. I say if I was homeless, I'd need a backpack and a bedroll and a couple of changes of clothes and maybe some hygiene items. What more do you need? Maybe a tarp to put over you or something when it's cold or hot. But that's it. You don't need 3 shopping carts full of stuff that you've rigged together into
Save this for your
crazy
blog.
train.
Save this for your blog. Call it I don't like homeless people. Jesus.
I do. I like all people. It's too much. It's partially economy too.
Yeah.
You can't get an apartment here for less than $1,600 for a 1-bedroom.
Jason, where can people find you? We got to wrap it.
Alrighty. You can find me on Twitter at Media Forest Cast, or you can read my Substack on substack.com at Mixed Media Forest Newsletter.
Mixed Media Forest Newsletter. Are you giving out exclusive deals?
Oh, it's free. I'm not monetizing it right now.
Man of the people. Well, I'm going to link you to links in the description.
Right. I want them to enjoy it.
It's been a pleasure chatting. Thanks again for listening to this episode about the blank. Jason, thanks again for joining me. It's been a while, and it's a pleasure as always. And stay tuned for our next episode.